up, you guys? It's me, Tailman, also known as Happy-Tec, and today, you guys have been asking for very, very long, for so many years, and I'm really sorry. Part of me just kind of, honestly, the main reason why it's sort of just been a test to doing it is part of mainly I didn't know how to explain it correctly. It's just that the moment I feel like I show how my guns really truly work, you know, despite the fact, you know, they all look like a SPAS 12 or a KSG shotgun or a Mossberg 500 or, you know, whatever I come up with, or even the paper shotguns that eject shells. The reason why I'll just be real with you. I was just terrified the moment people realize how my guns really work. They're not going to be all that impressive anymore because it looks like it's doing something really complex, but it's really not. It's more of just an accident I found one day when I was making a Left 4 Dead 2 replica shotgun, and the shell accidentally got caught on the chamber back when I was still learn how to make shotguns, and after I flicked it a little bit more or pumped the gun more, the shell flew out, and I was like, how the heck did I do that? So what I did there is I took the gun's internals, modified a bit to be more of an L shape than rather than a, you know, the lifter to be more rigid, and reinforced the bolt because it was just basically just a piece of paper, but now it actually had like a. It'll explain how it translates into this. And when I did that, I had the shells. I made new shells that were lighter and not filled with cardboard, so it's easier to lift. The moment I did that day, it just ended up ejecting shells, and I was like, what the heck? And it's something I've been wanting to learn how to do. Before then, it was like a different technique, and I might make a video on that for those who are a bit more newer to this and want a more simpler, effective ejecting shells. But basically, it's just been like that for years, and I thought, ooh, this is the coolest thing ever. And then I see people actually replicating not only the shotguns, lifter actually doing, lifting the shell, but also, the shell cut off and all that. I don't know how to do any of that. The closest I ever did to that was the Ithaca Model 37 shotgun, but that was different because it was a bit of a more simplistic shotgun. But mainly, my mechanism I've been using, I thought was probably going to be, just childish. So the main reason why I guess really I've been a test to making how to or explain it. It's just I just feel like if people knew, people might not like my guns as much, or might not think they're as interesting or cool, because once you start to see how it actually really works, it's actually really lame per se, like just not really too well thought out, like as if I was just being lazy with the mechanism. Because essentially that's pretty much the mechanism I stuck with. All those pump action shotguns you see me make, those all use the same mechanism I I accidentally discovered how to make on that day way back, in 2007. So, people have been asking for it, and I figured it's only fair enough, since you guys have been for me for so long, that, I give you guys a tutorial or explanation. I guess this is kind of a tutorial, actually, and explanation, so, yay, two birds with one stone, right? But yeah, so I figured, why not, just, whether or not people still think my guns are cool after this, I'll leave it up to you. But, you guys wanted a tutorial, so let's do it. This is my little diagram, 3D diagram that I made, a model, that showcases the mechanism of the shotgun. Now, this looks ugly, I'll admit, but this is just basically the basic blueprint of what I follow, and just hopefully to adapt this to whatever gun I'm making. Like I said, would have been that paper shotgun of the Mossberg 500 Tactical, or the KSG shotgun, or the Left 4 Dead shotgun, or the Surbu Super Shotty, or or the Winchester M1897, trench gun, just to name a few examples. This exact mechanism has been used in, and basically the way it works is, there's a lot of design things in this that you can see, and basically this little line right here is basically the workspace I keep track of, because the shell, if I can get a shell out, the shell actually has to be a very specific size, and it has to fit within that line. So when it feeds, as you can tell here, that little line is actually right here by that cardboard, and I have to keep everything in between there, so that way when it flicks, it doesn't get caught on the bolt and cause some weird jamming issues. So, and then all that. But even still, then, as you can tell, it's a bit finicky. But yeah, see, this is actually the mechanism being finicky right now. But there we go. So the way this works. So that's that. And as for the bolt actually has a few design things. First of all, it's cut at an angle like this. So that way, because it's not a full bolt, it's actually something that just goes over this thing right here. The bolt is also cut, this little piece right here is cut specifically to just about when the bolt hits what would have been the cutout, near the end of the cutout here, would have been in this area. Then that's when the lifter kicks in and then kicks the shell out of the chamber and all that. And the cardboard does that as well. As for the lifter, if I can move this out of the way. The lifter is basically just a piece of cardboard and a hinge right here, and a piece of a spring. It can be either metal or cardboard or paper. Basically just a piece of cardboard bent in an L shape, reinforced at this hinge area with the pin slightly behind it. And as you hit it, it basically does that. That's what the little tab right here is for. It's just to hit it back. And so when you do that, it does this. And that's essentially the equivalent of just flicking the shell out of the gun. That's essentially why you see me in those videos. I'll be over-exaggerating the recoil. Maybe not. Maybe that's real recoil. I never fired a shotgun. I'm just going off by what I've seen. So every time I do this, the reason why I do that is the main flaw as well of this mechanism. There cannot be a spring in the spring tube, with the exception of the Ithaca 37, because that's a different mechanism. But basically, it's because if there's any sort of pressure on this thing, so if the thing actually wants to load as such, let me get another shell. What would happen is, if there was pressure on this as I forcefully opened it up, you see here, there's no shell catch here. What would happen is if there was a spring, all the shells in that thing would just come flying out. Excuse me. So that's why there's no shells in these things. And that's also one of the flaws of this design. If I can actually get the shell down. The flaw with this design is you cannot use any sort of spring with this. That's why it all has to be gravity fed. So I'm at the mercy of where I can get the shell, into the chamber in this little area right here, and then proceed to flick it out. That's one of the main flaws with this design, but it also is the one that has the best effect for being simple and all that for me. And on top of that, there's also another factor that also helps it. This little piece of cardboard here is also very crucial to the function of the shell, because basically I'm taking the energy from flicking the shell and basically transforming it to pretty much go out the side like so. Because if you don't do that, it can actually just eject it straight up like a Scorpion or something, or maybe even a Bioshock shotgun. I could try to make one of those, but that's pretty much why that's there. That's also very crucial, and it has to be the most thinnest cardboard I can make. That way it doesn't get caught on any of the mechanisms and all that. So let me just check that. And so what else can I talk about? Oh yeah, and normally this part would be closed off, but sometimes you can actually get it the first try. Surprisingly on this I did. But here you can actually have this open if you'd like. It just depends on your preferences. Normally, the way I can get around to doing that, just as a little tip, I guess, if you still want to keep open chamber, just make sure that there's a little ring around the piece of cardboard here that keeps it small enough to where it's open, but this doesn't get into there, so it still has the same effect, but you can still see through the chamber if you really want that. That's just a little tip or an idea. And then what else? Yeah, the bolt, it has to be designed like this. It can't be a fully closed bolt as such relating to this little piece right here. Because if it was a closed bolt, this piece would contact that and it would just make it really bad on the mechanism and just really bind it and not really work properly. So that also has to be consideration. This part, importantly, has to be timed correctly. That's why it's so open, and then this part here has all this reinforcement. It's just so because it's timed perfectly to where just as it opens, it flicks it out and the shell doesn't get caught on the bolt and act all weird and all that. So, just to give you a show one last time before I end it, this is pretty much my mechanism, so there's nothing to it. It's just really simple, but it's also making me worry because that's what I also fear. If people see how simple it really is, it's not going to be all that cool anymore. They're just going to be like, oh, okay, so this guy's just rehashing the same thing over, just putting a different skin. This guy's like, what, the EA of of cardboard guns. Just make one thing and just reskin it. It's just a reskin, so that's why I've been so attached to making one of these. But it's only fair enough that you guys have been asking for so long. In this case, a few years, and I am sorry, but I guess it's time that I finally start showing how my things work. So like that, you load it. So you have to over-exaggerate the recoil. Bang! Just so this has enough momentum to actually slide down the tube and into the loader here. And then there we go. And the thing is, I actually have to practice how to pump these things before each gun, or before each video, otherwise I'll have a risk of it falling out. But basically, I do this, and then I'll just casually tilt it a little bit, and then that will hopefully help the shell feed down a bit in the tube, and then I, over-exaggerate the recoil. That's the only way to make these things feed down the tube and into the chamber here. So this is just it. This is pretty much the basic, simple mechanism principles of my shell ejecting guns. If you guys want to learn how to do it, I hope this really helps, because it's basically a really simple idea and concept, just a little bit finicky and kind of have to fine-tune it, and basically it's a little bit of work to actually get down in practice. Simple on paper, a little bit complex in practice. And but after a while, after you get the basic concept, it's actually really simple to implement. Like, it was really simple. That's how I was able to do it in paper form, on the Mossberg 500 Tactical. So this is all it's doing. It's just flicking the shell out of the gun. That's it. There's no fancy, double mechanism where, this feeds, this goes down, and then as you close it, there's like a mechanism that when you close it, and then, because on an actual shotgun, this stays down even as you prime it open. It's only when you push it forward, then does the actual lifter lift the shell up and then feed into the chamber. So this is kind of like a really oddly simplified reverse of the former or the usual mechanism. So that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this little explanation. I hope I did it really well, because like I said, one of the main reasons why I don't do tutorials as much, but I am trying to now, is my work process is very hectic, chaotic. It's winging it, really. It just, I go into it, I improvise, and I hope for the best. That's why sometimes you'll see some guns look okay, and others look decent. But that's just me, so there we go. My name is Tailman, as Happy Prefer. Ooh. And hope you guys enjoyed. As always, you guys. Oh, okay, well, that's unfortunate, but yeah, as you can tell, this mechanism is a bit finicky, but hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, be chill.